Hello, everybody. Welcome to our episode of the Grapevine Live show this month. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Melissa Merkle, and if I haven't had the privilege of meeting you just yet, I'm the Director of Partnerships and Business Development here at Muscle Mix Music. And today on our show, we have one of my absolute favorite people in the industry, Debbie Bellenger. And I have been privileged to go through some of her new courses recently. She has two of them. One of them talks about breaking into corporate wellness, and the other is a wellness academy. I've gone through both and I love them. And I know we're going to talk about those in a little bit. But Debbie, welcome. I am so happy that you're here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thanks, Melissa. The only thing missing is a glass of wine, right?
We should grab one. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the invite. And I'm delighted to be here and share. I think, being in the industry my whole life, the time is now for all of us as health, fitness, wellness professionals to grow and provide what it is that we have in the health and wellness space, healthy living space. There's such need right now for us to be out spreading our message and teaching and providing education to the universe at large, because clearly as a nation we're not getting healthier. The pandemic has clearly taken its toll, and some of the breaks at the seams are starting to show in a lot of ways, right, in our health. So I'm really excited to talk to you today because, as you know, this is my passion, and with my background, I lean heavily into wanting to serve the 80% that doesn't think they can, or doesn't know how to get started, or had a very bad first movement type experience and never moved again. Or so with my experience working for hospital systems as the director of wellness, that 80% really became a group that I grew to love, and I still do, because you see, when you motivate that piece of the audience or the world, and you see what they get to do because they have a little bit of fitness gained, or they're eating better, or just getting hope that they can do, then their life goes from like this to that. They can play with the grandkids and go hiking and take the trip to Italy and walk the stairs, and so this is my heart. And I'm really happy to talk to you today about all of it because it just makes me happy. So thank you for the invite.
Yes, of course. One of the things that I love so much about you is that, like, you radiate your love and your passion for this. And so every conversation I have with you, I come away inspired because of your energy around it. And so for anyone that might not know you yet, share a little bit about your background, because I think it's great. You come at this from the lens of wellness as opposed to fitness. And we'll talk about, kind of the difference in just a minute. But yeah, tell us your background and how you've gotten to where you are today.
I will. Yes. So you're right. I am coming very much at this point in my career from the lens of wellness, but it's been a journey of organic growth. So my background, born and raised in Canada, I'm a Canadian girl and moved to the States in 97. I've had a blessed career, sworn in as an American citizen, October 1st of 2019, after being here for a long time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And
cool.
yeah. So that, that's a big moment in time. And my career started with fitness. So I'm fitness to the core with an athletic family. It started with, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this, you go off to do your university degree and you're teaching Group X at university, and then you're doing your master's and you're the fitness coordinator part-time for the university while you're doing your master's. This is how my career just went, and it was, and then I got a role in Ottawa, being the manager of a new spa and fitness center in a hotel complex. So my journey of morphing from teaching fitness to operations of a fitness center kind of just happened. Then I worked for a Parks and Rec group outside of Ottawa, director of Parks and Rec. So my lens changed a little bit there around more than just fitness classes,
Mhm.
the whole picture of Parks and Rec, day camps and cultural camps and these kinds of things. And then when I moved to the States, and this is a really interesting thing about my career. I have been the first manager, director, senior vice president, all these roles I've been the first. It's so bizarre. Like it's when I talk to people, but like you and I sharing. So I was the first general manager for a private health club outside of Houston. Then we moved to South Carolina, and I was the first director of wellness for a hospital system in South Carolina. Then I was recruited to be the first director of wellness for a hospital system in North Carolina. Then I was recruited to go to South Florida to the YMCA to be the first ever senior vice president of healthy living. First. So the blessings in that for me have been that I've joined organizations with bringing everything I know to point and having a bit of a white slate and saying, well, you're the first director of wellness for the hospital system. We need an employee wellness program. Make it happen. We need wellness programs for our patients post-surgery. Make it happen. We need wellness for the community at large, community wellness. Make it happen. And so that has been for me so fun, Melissa, because I love to create and innovate, create new programs. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, but you learn by doing.
Yep.
And so in the hospital systems, particularly the South Carolina role and then North Carolina, I started to morph out of a focus of fitness, the physicality of what we do, into creating programs that were broad-based wellness. So smoking programs, weight loss programs, healthy back. We had a golf program. We had a cancer wellness program, cardiac rehab, step down phase 3. We had a women's wellness program, and there were a couple more. And I was afforded the opportunity to use all my skills, inclusive of fitness and everything I knew to that point with experts within the hospital system, to create a women's wellness program and to create a cancer wellness program with medical oversight. And by making these programs and having these populations in my world, then my lens was broadened into understanding the whole of the person, wellness and a holistic approach. And I learned, I think, in those things that I think we all know that a lot of what we can and can't do rests up here.
Absolutely.
Right? So it starts with this. But when you're working or teaching fitness classes to mostly fit, or you're doing CrossFit, or all the things I used to do, it was all fit people. And they require something very different from us as health, fitness, and wellness professionals than persons who have never been fit or ever tried to move or believe they could, right? So I did start my career in fitness. It grew. I grew from fitness to health and wellness to population health, which is a language that's pretty common in hospital systems. So your role is to provide health to populations of people wherever you can get them. Churches, employers, the community at large, anywhere there's a group of people, that's population health if you're providing services to them. So I've just kind of grown up in the different roles that I've had. I still remain very true to my fitness roots, though. I still teach Group X, and I'm a TRX master trainer. So I hope I get to do that for a very long time, even if it's share fitness somewhere down the road. But yeah, so it's just been a natural growth of a career and having opportunity to grow into it.
That's amazing. So in the last year then or so, you've transitioned kind of away from that into more of a teaching role. I mean, you've always done teaching, I know, like within all of those different roles, but now you're doing it for yourself and teaching other fitness and wellness professionals. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Melissa. So yes, I did step out of corporate America as I knew it.
Yeah.
Last year, I was in a full-time role for an insurance company. My first experience working for an insurance group. I was the director of health management and wellness. And I worked in that role for about 11 months and a bit. And throughout that year, I just did not feel like I could be true to me, which is the innovation and the creation and meeting people where they are, and meeting a client and understanding what it is that they needed and creating a solution for it through wellness programming. Or we also had nurses on my team. So as you said, I stepped out of that role, and I did it very conscientiously. I didn't just quit a job. It took me 11 months, and I had some coaches along the way, and I took some courses and made a
And
plan.
worked on this part too, because like you said, it's all like
Yeah, you need to know you have a life raft if you're going to step away from a full-time income, a paycheck every 2 weeks, and PTO and sick leave and retirement and all those things.
all the things.
Yeah, and so it was, it was a very scary decision, but I did step out of corporate America as I knew it. And I launched my own company full-time January of this year. And it is a blend of advisory services, providing consulting to small fitness clubs, education with the masterclass that I've created, and the Wellness Academy. And with my business partner now moving into adding into our toolbox some burnout workshops, because that's her experience going into the well-being space. You cannot speak with employers without speaking to burnout right now and stress. So that's also an evolution of work for me this year. And it's just been amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have enjoyed and learned so much from your courses and can't recommend them enough. So let's jump into some of this. So we've been talking kind of about wellness and fitness. So would you say that the main difference is that wellness is more holistic, a whole body approach, whereas fitness is more physical? Or how would you describe the difference for someone? Because sometimes it can be hard to understand the difference.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. And we could talk about this week, and I would answer the question this way. And talk about it 2 weeks from now, and it might have a different slant, because in the corporate world, it's changing so rapidly. So,
how so?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So fitness does allude to the physicality of our being, right? So exercise, movement, physical portion of us. And wellness is a more holistic term, and it's mind, body, spirit, bringing it all in. Now we're talking about well-being. So it continues to morph as we grow along the paradigm of what the universe needs post-pandemic. The holistic approach to anyone and everything is pretty much the way to go. And so the industry, as a result of the pandemic, has changed significantly, which is why our language needs to change and the way we do our work needs to change. And there's nothing wrong with leaning into being a specialist in movement, in the exercise piece of someone's world, right? But I'm going to challenge everyone on this call to take a broader lens and see the opportunity that aligns with where the world is right now. Because for so many, with 1 in 5 Americans burned out right now, and that's a statistic from the American Psychological Association, with 1 in 5 burned out, and burnout now being a clinical diagnosis with an ICD-10 code, it's serious, right? So let me challenge some concepts here. If we only speak to fitness, and that's your strength, although I believe fit pros have many strengths, I know we're going to talk about that. Pull it all out. That's what I'm going to do. Is the idea that maybe as a fit pro, whether you're a personal trainer or group X or movement specialist, whatever language you use, in what it is that you do and provide. Right now, many folks don't need exercise as much as they need breathing.
Mm-hmm.
1 in 5 Americans is clinically burned out. So recovery modalities are starting to gain a great deal of attention, because if you look at someone that is clinically diagnosed with a burnout, has no reserves, barely can get out of bed every day, getting through life is the biggest challenge. We are not serving that population well. And it's 1 in 5. So if we look around our little universe, right, someone in our world is clinically burned out right now.
Mm-hmm.
An exercise prescription of high intensity training 3 days a week with a personal trainer may not be what it is that they need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in speaking with my fitness friends, there are some of us that have lived this and realize that we need to adjust our exercise plans because we need less. We need more lower intensity type movement, things like an easy walk in nature to bring cortisol levels down and just escape the stress in a way and reset. So the concept of fitness is good. I do think wellness is better and well-being is even better, because well-being is leaning into the 6 dimensions of wellness, and it's not just mind, body, spirit, but it's also organizational stress. So what your day-to-day is, the environment, and some other things, right? And it's all things that we live with. Like I have a water bottle, that's an environmental disaster, right?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff. So when you take that and you go, there's a lot of things wrong with this holistically,
Mm-hmm.
because the plastic, there's studies now showing cancers as a result of. So if you connect the dots, I think for us, and what I would encourage for all of us on this call, is that we take the broad lens and look at the well-being of the universe, and meeting clients, customers, participants, members, where they are. And for a lot of folks, that means things that would allow for them to dump stress, not create stress. And high intensity workouts for someone that's got a clinical depression, extreme anxiety, a burnout, that's not the best prescription. So it's a chance, I think, for us as an industry to really shine how talented we are. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And so many fit pros that I've talked to, I feel they're leaning more into that space of wellness, because like you said, they're feeling it too. A lot of them are feeling burnout, or they've adjusted their routines. I know I have since the pandemic. I mean, I used to go to the gym at least 5 days a week, and like my health routine, shall we say, or well-being routine is completely different now. And there's different breath work courses out there that I see fit pros moving into. So I see that quite a bit. And what's really interesting, as you were talking about burnout in particular, burnout has so many characteristics that are so similar to depression. And so, like, I don't know, I'm going to have to do more digging into that. Like, kind of what's the difference? And I would think that burnout could lead to depression. Have you heard anything about like that connection, or know anything about that?
I've heard a little bit, and it's from Tiani, my business partner, because she's a burnout coach, right? And she works with a brain neurologist. His science is study of the brain.
Yeah.
And he's a neuroscientist. He's brilliant. I've done a couple of webinars with him, and I barely hang on. I mean, it's like, it's really interesting. So there are 2 things there, 2 resources that I've encountered that have really expanded my lens. And you're very, very astute to bring that out, I think, Melissa, because signs and symptoms of burnout and signs and symptoms of depression, they do match. They mirror very closely, right? So I was on an MFA, Medical Fitness Association webinar. I do not remember the name of the gentleman. He's working on his PhD in brain science, brain health and brain science. And it was the first time I have heard someone share that there is research underway, and it was so encouraging to take the paradigm of exercise prescription as we know it, like American College of Sports Medicine, 150 minutes a week of movement, 3 to 5 days a week of stretching, 3 days a week of strength training, or 2 to 3 days, all of that, and dialing it in a little bit tighter to exercise prescriptions for particular conditions. And really challenge. So he's doing research on exercise prescriptions for dementia, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's. He had a list of 5 or 6 disease states that he was doing his PhD on. And he had some preliminary research, was fascinating and challenging us as an industry, those of us that are in the exercise prescription space, that not only do we have exercise prescriptions, and depression was not on his list as I remember it, but within the stages of Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, that there be exercise prescriptions for a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 Alzheimer's patient. That may not be exactly the right language, but the progressive states of the disease, right? And that the prescription be altered to accommodate that. And the biggest takeaway of that particular webinar, and I get chills telling you, because we all have folks in our world that have these conditions, right? And it might be us one day, but was that many of these conditions, it was so good. Many of these conditions can be delayed and postponed to never fully prevail with exercise. Exercise is medicine, and I mean, that's what his research was, but you might have Alzheimer's in your family. You might be a likely candidate, but if you stayed active your whole life, you might prevent it becoming a limiting factor in your older adult life, that it really doesn't fully develop and you're not limited. And that was just like, oh, I just wanted to reach through the Zoom and hug him, right? It was so uplifting and encouraging. Exercise is medicine. And the other most fascinating report I've read, and you can, and the MFA one would be on their website, I believe. It was one of the webinars in July, I think it was. And I can send it to you, Melissa, post call.
Okay. And we can post it in the comments too.
Yeah,
for anyone
I'd be
listening.
happy to share it because it was gold. And then the other piece was there was a paper done with Ursa and Victor Brick and his wife. It's a 10-year study with their mental health foundation. And the study basically is tracking these different disease states as well. And it does have prescriptions. It is one of the most brilliant tools I've seen in my entire career. So the research around what makes sense for someone clinically diagnosed with depression, anxiety, this, prescriptions by different kinds of exercise modalities. Just brilliant. And then they just released, and I think I put it in our Facebook page, but again, I'll share this with you. There was a tool as a result of all the research done. So you could go to a condition. Let's say we have a clinically depressed patient. This pictogram was you could manipulate the data on the screen. So I could say that I want to have an exercise prescription for a clinically depressed person, and I'm a Pilates teacher. So I'm wondering what Pilates prescription would make sense for that diagnosis. Or I'm thinking I'm going to do some low impact activity or some walking or some cycling or some gardening. Click, what is the prescription for using this exercise modality for this diagnosis?
Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it before. Now, that is not my area of expertise. Of course, my awareness for the mental health piece of it has gone up significantly this year, working with my partner who specializes in burnout.
Mhm.
And there are two great resources I would recommend for the audience along this line of conversation. Mhm.
That's amazing.
It is. It's good
That's so
progression.
cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, to have that prescription for such a specific condition and to have the research to back it. You know, it's one thing to just hear, oh, you should like exercise, it's, you know, like good for you or what have you. But when you can actually point to the research and the reason and like what's going on in the brain, like that's amazing. I think it's incredible. All of the brain work and like all of the research about the brain, I think is amazing. I think it's so incredible.
We're
So
making some strides. It's really encouraging, really encouraging.
absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. So let's break into like these three top wellness issues that are facing fit pros and how they might be able to use them to leverage their careers, make more money and just be more aware of all of the issues that
Mhm.
are so present right now.
Yeah, so I think clearly we can all agree that the landscape is ever changing. I think it is safe to say that hybrid will remain. The most recent things that I've been reading, it's there's so much going on in the industry, Melissa, that it's hard to follow along, right? So it's a blend of extreme, it's so dynamic right now with mergers and acquisitions and buyouts and layoffs, and you see these startup brands and they were going gangbusters last year and now they're laying a whole bunch of people off. So I think within all of that and hybrid, the most recent research I read yesterday was, I think the hope was that the opportunity to work out from home was going to have more people move and get fitter, and the health of the nation would improve. And in fact, it's not showing that at all. So although we gave folks some new options that remain, and gyms are filling back up, and some, we still have an obesity problem in America,
Mhm.
and it's rising. And we've got chronic diseases that are rising at a very terrifying rate: diabetes, hypertension, cardiometabolic disorders. It's too much sitting and all the things, right? So when you look at the top three health issues of the nation and where Fit Pros can come in and suppress some of it, I feel like there's a ton of opportunity. I think the challenge for Fit Pros is just deciding which audience do you want to serve, how do you want to serve them, and in which forum do you want to serve them? Are you wanting to serve by Zoom, or do you want to go teach in a gym, or do you want to be outdoors and providing service in nature? Because that's a huge boon right now, is outdoor activity, right? So the top three issues, I think, in America for Fit Pros to be aware of. One is 1 in 5 Americans is burned out. And that's a statistic from American Psychological Association. So who cares? Like, who cares? Like, just play devil's advocate with it.
Mhm.
Well, if I am a personal trainer or a group X instructor or a club owner or a wellness business owner and trying to make my business with 8-week transformational health and wellness programs where you're teaching, that's fairly important, because you will need to know that 1 in 5 persons is going to need something very different than the others who maybe aren't suffering burnout, right? So the one size fits all is not it anymore. So it's all about customization. I think another health issue that Fit Pros need to be very aware of, and there's an overarching theme through these three, in addition to 1 in 5 Americans clinically diagnosed with burnout, is that the CDC has forecasted by 2030, 50% of Americans will have a BMI greater than 30. So a clinical diagnosis of obesity. So who cares? Right? Like, who cares? Well, if you're a practitioner, if you're working with an obese client, the way you manage that client, program, support, educate is very different than a healthy, fit individual. Again, one size does not fit all in programming, right? How we approach it.
For sure.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing is that I'm following a really interesting group, Hinge Health,
Mm,
in the benefit space. I'm very impressed with what it is they're doing. They've been on the market for 5 years. They live and breathe as a benefit vendor for musculoskeletal injuries. And one of their latest webinars, they have a medical director, they've got coaches, they've got physical therapists. One of the other health issues that's facing a lot of folks, which we need to know as practitioners, is the rising incidence of musculoskeletal injuries. So TechNet, a new name. So so what of that? Well, if you've got employees that are on your health plan that are suffering extreme neck pain, radiating shoulder pain, back pain from sitting, all of those things can amount to a really big healthcare spend, right? So sitting is the new smoking, is the new high risk activity for cardiometabolic syndrome. So if you have in your family health line incidents of diabetes, you've got family members who have diabetes, who've had heart attacks, all those things, and you have a weak circulatory system and you sit all day, blood clots can be more present than in the day when we were running around the offices, driving to work, up, down. This extended sitting is a huge risk. So I think all of that comes down to, again, knowing who your clients are, what health issues prevail, and looking at, if you're teaching a generic group fitness class and a step class, low impact class, just know that there'll be several folks in your group with neck pain, back pain from sitting all day, sore knees. If they're taking different medicines for burnout, they might be kind of low key. Anxiety meds kind of just numb you out, all these things. I do think it's important that we are fully aware as fitness professionals, that we really have a challenging job to accommodate all shapes, sizes, conditions in some of the classes and things that we do. So again, I think the answer to the problems is an opportunity for all of us on this call to learn how to create customized wellness solutions in various settings. That's the magic. That's the magic.
absolutely. And as you're talking about that too, like one thing that comes to mind for me is, specializing in creating those programs, but also naming them and using like the wording and the verbiage around them in a way that sounds inviting and that doesn't sound like you're labeling someone with, something that they might not want to be associated with. Because that whole thing of naming programs too can either attract or deter people, and all of that. So again, as you were talking, that was kind of what I was thinking about too. Like there's so much opportunity and there's so many different directions to go with all of this, that piece of it too is very important. You had mentioned something else too, about how Fit Pros, and I know because I've I've been challenged with this too, making a decision on which direction to go, because I think a lot of us see that there is so much need and we're fascinated and passionate about so many different things, that making that decision and then committing to that and moving in that direction can be really hard and almost like limit the progress before it even gets started because of that again, going back to what's going on up here with like the back and forth. So yeah, totally agree with all of that.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the labeling. I think I'm with you 1,000%, Melissa, because one of the things that was let me say it this way. One of the things I've learned in my career, especially the medical wellness chapter, 23 years on a hospital system payroll and working with morbidly obese cancer patients, diabetics, non-compliant diabetics, losing feet, just these catastrophic life events. And it so has rocked my world because I'm looking at these folks and it's prevention. It's like, it feels to me like if you only knew that you didn't, and they don't, it's cultural, like this particular area that I was in North Carolina for 9 years was the tobacco belt and a particular soda called Sundrop, I think. It's like Mountain Dew. Babies grow up with it. So they grow up with rotted teeth because in the baby bottle was Sundrop. And, and these drinking 5 or 6 of these of Sundrop at 220 calories a day, as you well know, it's easy to get in excess calories through sugar that you don't really need. And then, the county has an obesity epidemic. And so I learned to program in that space. And one of the things that I did also learn was to be very mindful of the names of our programs. And when we did coaching with my dietitian, doing nutrition counseling, very mindful of the language in our brochures, not only the title of the program, but the description of the program. And then in the education piece, when we had our dietitian lecturing or our exercise physiologist teaching a lesson, we all were very mindful about that because it is very easy to hurt feelings because these folks don't come to us feeling really good about themselves. Yeah. And if we have this label and judgment thing, they pick up on it pretty quickly. And so one of our rules in both hospital systems on all of our brochures, never, ever was there to be a piece of marketing that had an individual anywhere in a photo with a bare midriff. So even if it was our fitness class schedule, there could not be pictures of individuals with a bra top, bare belly, and leggings. It was unacceptable. And our dress code clearly did not allow for that either, because all of that was potential to turn somebody off from something that they desperately needed, which was my team in my medical wellness center coming to our weight loss program or our diabetes class or that kind of thing. So thank you for saying that, because I do think that challenge remains. And as the population gets unhealthier, our skills in coaching them will have to be elevated even further. So we don't upset someone, Yeah.
Yep.
That's really good. Yeah.
I think we could have a whole conversation and lesson even about a couple things that you mentioned there. I mean, the naming and the wording and how to do that, appropriately and effectively, but also that motivation piece, because like you're talking about non-compliant diabetics that, you see and your heart breaks for them. And I know you can't motivate someone who's not motivated, but, kind of how to address those and try like, it's like, it's so hard as a fit pro because you just want to that, if there was just a little bit done, it could make such a difference. And I don't know, but the whole motivation piece could be a whole other lesson on its own,
well, it could, but let me just drop one nugget there, because that's really good that you said that. So one of the ways that we can succeed as fit pros right now, like today, is to partner with physicians, partner with physical therapists, partner with, they're called allied health professionals, with chiropractics, with women's wellness centers, with all the providers, right? Sports medicine and rehab. So when someone graduates from their physical therapy appointments, their sports medicine appointments, what's the next piece of the puzzle? Well, that's to come to a personal trainer or go to a gym or keep on with your exercise, Melissa and Debbie, those kinds of things, right? And so the motivation, like you said, we could pull our hair out, but sometimes the motivation piece can be, in effect, escalated when a physician says, Debbie, you need to start exercising. Your family history and your family line, you've had 3 family members pass with heart attacks before age 55. You really need to consider moving, or you may not be here next year at this point. So my experience has taught me working in hospital systems that when the doctor says, the patients get motivated, and they're more likely to get motivated to seek change, behavior change with us as fitness professionals, to try a beginner exercise class or a particular weight loss class or those kinds of things. So some of the magic lies with the referring person, which is the providers. So for us to partner with providers is a really good strategy right now.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff for
Mm-hmm.
sure. For sure. So what other tips do you have for us?
Well, I think I want to celebrate Fit Pros. I think as a group, all of us have demonstrated such commitment to the industry. We're still doing. We've had to reboot, recharge, transform, start over, lose big jobs. I've talked to so many that have had so much change, and yet here we are doing what we believe is important and what our passion is, and serving this servant leadership role that we take to help others feel better, move better, enjoy their lives at a much higher level. All of us doing this. I want to celebrate that, because I think for Fit Pros in general, we come to the table with so many skills. We are experts in movement. We're experts in science. We know how to meet someone where they are. We can serve in a one-on-one capacity. We can do one-to-many. We can lead groups. We have public speaking skills. We're usually high energizer, bunny rabbit skills. Like, a lot of us are A+ personalities. And so we bring the energy, right?
Yeah.
Well,
we're pretty awesome. We're pretty
awesome.
We are.
And that's where the fitness piece of my personality still lives and breathes. And I think we know how to use music to motivate. And so all of these skills can be used to impact change in different audiences using your core skills. Whether you teach group X, you do personal training, small group training, you're leading wellness programs, lunch and learns, whatever it is, those skills that you've invested in are gold. And I celebrate that for everyone here. And I think there's so much we can do with just those amazing skills that we bring. And we haven't even talked about all the certifications we all have and the number of years of experience. Like, talk about a perfect storm to affect change and motivate, right? That's us. And I think that needs to be celebrated and used. And it's not a little thing. It's a huge, big thing that we bring to this universe. It's just amazing.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that so much. So I know we're running out of time here, but I want to talk real quick about your upcoming programs and share. I know you're about to start some new sessions. And so I'd love to see more people join, because like I said, I've been through both and they're both amazing. So what do you have coming up? Tell us about them.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. So we have cohort number 4 of the masterclass that I launched at the start of the year. It is a CEC approved masterclass. So there's 8 CECs with 4 different groups: ACE, AFA, NASM, and the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching. And the title of the masterclass is Fit Pros, How to Break into Corporate Wellness. Now, I will share with your audience, I do think I need to change the name for next year because you and all my other participants have taught me that you can go to any market and sell. Churches, apartment complex, real estate complexes, resorts, spas, employers. I created the class customized to go to employers. I'm learning from my participants, they're going to all kinds of markets. So that's super exciting. That starts next Wednesday, September 14th at 1 p.m. And you can register on my website. And as Melissa mentioned, I started the Wellness Academy, which is my goal to provide Fit Pros and others the opportunity to learn more about wellness, all the elements and different folks involved in the wellness space, older adult space, insurance space, medical wellness, benefits, self-care, lots of different topics. The Wellness Academy will go again. I launched the first one this summer. Great success, great interaction, really great speakers. And we're kicking off that next Thursday, September 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I can share with your audience, my first guest speaker is Amy Boone Thompson. And she's going to come as the brand new owner of Idea Health and Fitness and share her vision of fitness for our industry on September 22nd. And I've got Abby Apple coming, and I've got a renowned author and Tour de France women's cyclist, Catherine Bertine, who wrote many books. The one I read is called Stand. So she's confirmed, and I'm beyond.
Awesome.
Just talk about motivating women and movement and advocacy. And so she just confirmed yesterday, which is
awesome.
So she's coming October 13th. There's a lot more news, but I'll put it in my Facebook. So if you're not connected with me on Facebook, that's a great way, or LinkedIn, so you can follow along.
Yeah. They find you at Debbie Bellenger. That's where, like, you're not known as any special names anywhere. Search for Debbie Bellenger. And same thing with registration is at debbiebellenger.com as well. And we'll put that link in the comments too. Okay. So yeah, continue. Yeah, sorry.
Very straightforward. Yeah. And then the other service that I'm offering is coaching, one-on-one coaching for solopreneurs, fit pros. And this was very organic. The graduates of the 8-week masterclass, within the 8 weeks, where the dynamic is group education and evolution and learning. And you get to the end of 8 weeks and you want a little more focus on your business. And so with requests of, can you do some coaching with me just for my business model, I started offering coaching over the summer as well. And that's been very joy-filled for me. And our participants, Melissa, like you, are out selling to apartment complexes, to resorts, to real estate groups. I'm just like, so it's been great. I would love to have, folks from this group join our audience, whether it be in the 8-week masterclass and or the Wellness Academy. The more the merrier. So open invite.
That's so awesome. It has been so amazing to see all of the different women in the group. Not that it's just for women, but all of the different things that they're doing. And it's such a great supportive group as well. I know I've connected with a number of them outside of our classes as well. And you use the word magic a lot, which I love. And that is truly what has happened, I think, with some of these relationships with the other ladies in the group, beyond just, like, I'm launching this program. I think when we launch programs, and a lot of times as solopreneurs, when you do that type of a thing, it can be very lonely. And having that support of the group and your guidance and again, like, your heart and passion, like, going towards it, it just makes a huge difference. So yeah, it's been great to be a part of for so many different reasons.
Thanks, Melissa. And I'm really proud, and my heart is really happy of all this, with the sharing, the community that's been created, and folks leaning on others and hiring each other. And hey, can you come and do? And I don't know that I can envision for all this to happen, but the community that has been formed is the magic. It's not me, it's our group, right? And each group has its own little personality. But now the groups are starting to interconnect, 1 and 3, and it's like, wow, now that's kind of fun. So I've really enjoyed the journey, and I get to have time with people like you, and it's good. We need to lift each other up and get out and get the message, get our programs out to the universe, and motivate more people to choose healthy over the other option, because there's a lot of work for all of us to do to share our knowledge. So
for sure.
I think that's the good part, right? It's a good time for us.
It is. It is. Okay. One final question for you. And this okay. The final question is, so if you had to choose just one area of wellness where you see the most opportunity, what would that be?
That's really easy for me. It would be customized wellness solutions, programs, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
customized wellness solutions for the 80% of the universe that remains inactive.
Mm. I love it.
A lot of people need our help.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
that's
Well,
our
Debbie,
opportunity.
thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining me for this and having this conversation and sharing your experience and your knowledge and your heart with all of us. It's been amazing, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Same back at you. Virtual hug.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. All
And for
right,
all of
I
you
promise I'll send you the two sources I referenced. Okay.
perfect. Yep. I was just gonna say, for anyone that's watching, we'll put links and everything in the comments. So make sure you check those out and make sure you connect with Debbie at debbiebellenger.com and on social. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks so
Thanks,
much for
Melissa.
joining us. We'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.